Hey guys, welcome back to Open It and Play. This is Mike, and today we're going to look at some of the customs figures that I'm working on. We'll take a look at a big project first. This is my Forceworks Scarlet Witch. So I'm trying to make her going off of her main costume from the Forceworks comics. And we use the Vampirilla buck to make her, and then a lot of green stuff sculpting. So I didn't think that they're ever going to make a figure of this version of Scarlet Witch. I hope I didn't say Black Widow earlier. But so I tried to make one of my own. It's not the most politically correct costume, but that's the way that she was drawn in the comics. And that's why I'd like to have a figure of it, since I'm a big Iron Man and Forceworks guy. West Coast Avengers, baby. Okay, but she is using head from X-Men 2099 Rogue, and then I free sculpted this hair, and it's basically looks like snakes right now, but hopefully it will look a lot better once I paint it. But I've done another hair for her, and I'm planning on doing more. The more I practice, the better I get. So Scarlet Witch of the Forceworks. And I might add more detail to this front part of her costume that's hanging down, but I'm not really sure how to add more detail without making it look goofy, so we'll see what happens. Okay, and next we'll continue with the ladies first. This is Moondragon, the son of the daughter of Drax the Destroyer, and her costume in the comics was always very revealing, so I didn't think that they're going to make a figure of this Moondragon. So what I've done is I've taken the arms and the head off of the Marvel Legends release that came with Drax, that was released, I think, last year. And I've used the Vampirilla buck again, so we're making use of this Vampirilla buck. But I'm a beginner, so almost immediately after I did this, you can see her paint has chipped on part of her chest here, and it's also chipped off the back of her leg. I don't know if you can see that part, but so anyway, I'm still a beginner when I'm trying to seal these figures with the top coat spray. I'm just not good enough at it yet, but I'm pretty happy with her as long as she'll be durable, but I do have to do something to glue this down, because depending on the pose she's in, her cape can sit up funny for this part. It's supposed to be hooked to the top of her costume there. Okay, and continuing on, we'll look at this guy. So this is Speedball. He's a member of the New Warriors, but what I've done is I've decided to take the head sculpt from this figure and change him into Mr. Immortal from the Great Lakes Avengers. It was kind of tricky because he's wearing goggles that are like plugged into holes in his face around his eyes, but I took off the goggles carefully without damaging the rest of the head, and then I filled those gaps with green stuff, and then I painted the area around his eyes with a peach color for his skin tone. And then I sculpted a mask around that very carefully with green stuff. And I also sculpted a lot more hair. He has this kind of foppish hair, is that the right word? But I added a lot more to it using green stuff. So I hope the camera will focus on that. But I wasn't very good at painting it, but my painting skills are okay, but I'm really a beginner for painting on green stuff and painting on plastics. But I'm really happy with how he came out so far. If I can do the rest of his costume, he'll be ready to go. Okay, and next maybe we can look at Sentry. Sentry is the member of Forceworks. This is his original Toy Biz figure from back in the day. Okay, he's that kind of skeleton-y looking zombie type guy. He's a cool warrior. He lives 100 years. And he has like the knowledge and fighting abilities of lots of great warriors within one body. But I was always a fan of this guy since I got into comics when I'm preteen or early teenager, young teenager, whatever you want to say. And so I tried to make the Marvel Legends scale of him. So I've shown this guy before, and he's a very old custom that I've been working on this whole time, but it's going really slow, and I'm dividing my hours between customs, so he's not getting the love that he deserves. But recently I sculpted this part to give him the kind of shirt overlay, kind of like what this looks like. But then his armor sits on top of that, like so, with these magnets. Whoops, I put it on the wrong one. Hook on here and hook on here. And then his shoulder pads go on these, which can move freely, like I showed in a previous video. And then I'll sculpt some tissue in there so he has a skin texture that's all wrinkly and nasty looking. But he still has a lot to go. He's probably going to get the most love for all my sculpting work, but I am a beginner, so it's pretty rough. And then these pockets on his belt, I showed them also before. They're magnetic, so he can move his legs very freely, move his body without worrying about those hitting something or scraping. Okay. And then the head is the King in Black, but I shaved off a lot of his facial features to make him have less exaggerated features. So, but I'm sorry if this is not in focus. Okay, and next we have Hulk. So I wanted to make an original Avengers inspired display. And so I bought the new gray Hulk, which is supposed to be first appearance of Hulk that comes with the Bruce Banner figure. The Bruce Banner is a pretty disappointing figure, but the Hulk and Bruce Banner together on the Japanese Amazon was very cheap recently, so I bought it. I think nobody's buying gray Hulks in Japan. And I painted it very carefully. Painted it very carefully. And I redid the hair. Of course, he's not gray anymore, but I don't know how well it shows up on the lighting in the room here. But I tried to do a lot of shading for his face, his facial features. He's got the shadow under his heavy brow there. He looks kind of more like a Frankenstein-y type Hulk, but I thought that looks like a pretty good sculpt. Some of Toy Biz's old sculpts are really good, but they're not so cheap despite being old, and I have to ship from America to Japan, so the price is even higher. And so I decided to go with the cheaper option this time, and hopefully my paints make up for it. And the last two guys that we're gonna give some attention to are the Blood Brothers. So these are Iron Man villains. They're the two big aliens that are kind of Thanos' henchmen in the early appearances of Thanos. And the Blood Brothers, I used the Outback Hulk, which is based on the Square Enix Avengers game, which was a very bad game. So these figures are now pretty cheap too. They're at least reasonable, 3,000 yen maybe. And they have this weird appearance where the left arm is smaller than the right arm. So I sculpted over it with green stuff, and then I tried to add some texture using kind of a bristly brush, and I tried to sculpt in lines similar to what the old muscular lines look like. Their faces are still under construction, but I'm happy with how they're going so far. And I used the crocodile from G.I. Joe Classified to give the texture to the head, and then I sculpted in some cracks, just regular sculpting. So I'm very happy with everything so far, but their face part is pretty intimidating. So, and this guy's other arm is unintentionally a little bit too big. So I think I'm gonna have to add some to this arm to make him look more balanced. The Blood Brothers are not necessarily twins, but they do look almost exactly the same in the comics. And this is going off more of a balance of their different appearances. But their first appearances, they had kind of bigger, wider heads. And I thought that looks more unique. Nowadays, lots of characters will have a smaller head, but I thought it looks kind of cool with a broader face or a broader head. It looks a little more intimidating in some ways. So, okay, I have a lot more work to go on them because they don't wear pants, and so I have to sculpt or shave off all of this, and I have to give them sort of like wrestling boots, and I have to add some kind of design for this part to show that they have kind of a costume on their upper body. So a lot of work left on those guys, but they're kind of fun to work with. I think the figure is a pretty good design, but it's also pretty stable, so it doesn't like fall down easily. But okay, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. My kids didn't come yet. It's a miracle. Like they're coming in, like their class starts in 13 minutes, so I gotta go fast. But thank you for joining me, and sorry for all the blabbing. Okay, bye for now.